Tonight, hey, brother, I knew.
You are listening to the Doug Stanhope Podcast.
The potato peelings in the sink did not turn into vodka as I had hoped. I only start to need a drink after the liquor stores have closed. I heard you changed your name again, but don't you change your hair. It was the only thing I liked about you in the end. La la la.
This is the Doug Stanhope Podcast. I don't know what number. Whatever podcast. It's been a while. Sorry, I was away and I didn't have my tour manager, so I didn't have all this equipment, which I hope is working. To the best of my knowledge, this is working. It's a very special episode of the Doug Stanhope Podcast where the guest is me, Doug Stanhope, with my good friend Alex O'Mara, who we've tried to have on the podcast. He's here in Bisbee, a local legend, son of a huge local legend. I remember when we played poker the first time with Jake LaMotta, and I brought you over, and it's a couple of old rummies from town, and Jake, I shouldn't say old rummies, but craggy old guys. Danny, hey, it's Danny, man. We're playing poker with the champ, man. You want to come over? So I asked to bring Alex because he's a local poker player, and I wanted someone to share it with. And yeah, you sat down, and eventually someone talked to you, and
there were like three guys who asked me old-timers, and turned out my dad, whose name is Wolf, moved here in 1975, was a great drunk for a long time. He eventually quit drinking. When he quit, I asked him how he quit. He said he didn't actually quit. He retired undefeated. So, and my dad had once run for justice of the peace in Bisbee, and his slogan was, "Why hire a lawyer when you can buy a judge?" So that was my dad. That was a lot of my dad. And these guys knew him. They knew of him. And then
you became the biggest celebrity at the table, just dropping your dad's name.
Well, there was that phone call that Danny got. And he's talking to somebody on the phone. He's getting all anxious. He's like, "I can't talk right now. I can't talk. I'm with celebrities. I'm with the champ. I'm with Doug Stanhope, and I'm with Wolf's son." So it was a nice moment.
Yeah, we'll get into your dad stories. Or first of all, it's your interview. You could start with that. I don't know.
All right. Well, I wanted to talk to you, about celebrity and about what it's like. And I saw on your Facebook page that you recently hung out with Johnny Depp at Target. And I'm just that to me is just surreal as hell. And I'm wondering how that came about. And first of all, how did you get in touch with Johnny Depp? How did that relationship start?
I don't know if we've talked about this. Maybe I just talked about it on Stern. He sent an email, or his agency sent an email last year when we were doing that Canada tour. And I just put out a new album, so I'm working out all new shit. And the second night, I get this email that Brian fielded, my manager, and said, "One of our clients would like to reach out to Doug Stanhope. How do we go about this?" And right before I go on stage, I get Hennigan texting saying, "Evidently, Johnny Depp will be contacting you. I have no further information."
Nice.
Which, really fucks up your set. Mm-hmm. And I go, "What?" I text back, "What?" He goes, "Evidently, Johnny Depp will be contacting you. I have no further information." You fucking asshole. Just give me...
Please hold for the queen. Yeah.
Yeah, so I go on stage, and all I can think about is, why the fuck is Johnny Depp going to call me?
Sure.
And then he didn't call, and then I had to keep my phone on.
Right.
And answer every unrecognizable number. Every asshole, "Hey, will you do my podcast?" Like, fuck.
So you're literally sitting by the phone. Yeah.
And it was like 9 days of that. So
Right.
It's just me and Chaille on tour. I'm trying to fucking go over what this segues to why would he be calling me? I got this. Focus on your set. Does he need a ride to the airport? No one wants to give you a ride to the airport in L.A. So yeah, it was befuddling. And then he called and he just said, he was a huge fan and he had an idea for a TV show. And he'd come to Bisbee. You don't have to come here. I know you're busy. I can come to Bisbee. And then I'm like, holy fuck, Johnny Depp's going to be at my house.
That would have been, you couldn't have kept people away.
It was, the tour was slipshod at best.
Uh-huh.
Which was great because this time, Hennigan, we play LA. Yes, long story short,
right.
We went to see him in London when he was filming in December for 2 weeks.
Right.
And I hadn't heard from him in a couple of months since I did Stern. And, maybe he just doesn't like me anymore.
Right.
And then when I was in LA, he's like, hey, I want to bring my 12-year-old to your show. Do you think you can make that happen?
Great.
No other 12-year-old, but your 12-year-old let that slide.
Was he cool? I mean,
he's
just
really
as a
cool,
person.
But it was a fucking, like a whole Secret Service kind of thing. They had to shut down the entire back room of the Comedy Store.
Right.
3 security guys come as advance men to scope out like every exit and entrance. And,
seriously?
Yeah. And
wow.
So him and his sister, who's like his manager, and his 12-year-old kid hung out backstage before the show and for 2 hours afterwards. And,
right.
And then he said, I have some more ideas for that show. I wish you could stay. I can stay.
Right. Sure.
So
absolutely.
I changed my flight for 3 days and he moved us into one of his houses. He has a fucking street in LA. Like he owns every house but one. So he put us in one of his houses.
Right. Was that your first time being around that level of celebrity? I mean, the fact that this guy is, advanced teams. That's presidents have that, Yeah.
I never had to deal with it. We were always at his place in London or, he was always, it wasn't like walking down Sunset Strip and paparazzi.
Right.
Which kind of would have been fucking cool.
Yeah, that would have been, actually, yeah. Yeah. It could have been in People magazine and everything.
Yeah. So he put us up at his house, and the next day, it was great because Hennigan's over there. I was sitting out on the back deck smoking cigarettes, and Hennigan's got his laptop trying to work out this tour coming up. And he says, I find it very difficult to concentrate with the whole Johnny Depp thing. I go, that's what Canada was like. Trying to fucking work out a brand new hour when you're waiting for Johnny Depp to call for some unknown reason.
Right. And do you get used to that? I mean, you've been around him a little bit. Does that stuff fade into the background? I mean, the whole show of him being him, does that become nothing?
No, because when you're hanging around, it's very private. And
okay.
It's not like he's a weird dude or anything.
Right.
He's definitely on my level, even though he doesn't drink anymore. He's
right.
He's still in that mindset.
Okay. All right.
So it's just like hanging around with anyone else. But but you still know he's fucking Johnny Depp. He can't walk outside.
Yeah, right.
Like he can't go, I forgot my cigarettes in my car. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'll run the Circle K.
Squad that goes out. But yeah, we went out to dinner, and he has his own back room of the place he's a regular at, and the maitre d', they've been going there for 20 years. So the maitre d' would walk by and see I was low on cigarettes, because you can smoke anywhere with Johnny Depp.
Seriously,
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't. There's no smoking zone.
No,
really?
No.
That's awesome.
So they'd come up. Every cigarette, they empty your ashtray, and when they see your pack is low, they send out for a pack without asking. This is fucking cool.
It is cool. Yeah, it's like Louis the 18th or something. You're like, oh yes, please.
But that one day we were there, he texted me. He said, "Would you like to meet my genius daughter? We're going to Target. I've never been to Target. We could get arrested."
Right, you went to Target. What was
for like an hour? No, where's the paparazzi?
Right, but what brought that about? You just figured
he'd bring his kid to Target for school supplies.
Cool.
Which he could have not done.
Right.
He could have sent one of his henchmen.
But
he wanted to go because he'd never been. So we spent 45 minutes in Target, where he looks just like Johnny Depp. He's not trying to do the Hollywood baseball hat, sunglasses.
Looking like he's in witness
like
protection.
A fucking swashbuckler with a Johnny Depp hat, and he looked like an impersonator.
Right.
So I think that actually a lot of people probably thought, nah, he wouldn't be dressed like that. Why would Johnny Depp be at Target? So
exactly.
Maybe 4 or 5 people asked for a picture quietly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird. Yeah. And the whole thing seems surreal to me. The whole setup of doing that, but I guess you get used to anything, right? I mean, it's Johnny Depp, but if he's if he's an asshole, then or if he's not, you get used to who he is as a person pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, but when he doesn't call you for 2 months and you were working on a thing and then you don't hear from him, you're like, wait, maybe Johnny Depp doesn't like me anymore.
Did we break up?
I wish I could tell you there's been one day in the last year I have not thought about Johnny Depp.
Wow.
Which is not a way for a 47-year-old man to spend his time wondering.
Will he call me? Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Now, you used to live in L.A. for years.
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years. And why did you leave L.A.?
I hated it. There was nothing there I wanted. I lived my life to avoid traffic, which
Right.
you can't do. The last probably 2 years I lived there, I didn't even do sets to speak of. I wouldn't even go out and go to the Comedy Store to do a set, just because I didn't want to drive or deal with fucking that many people.
But had you moved there because that's where you need to be in order to start a career? Was that I mean, you don't seem like an LA guy.
Discovered at one point. Like I won the San Francisco comedy competition in '95, and I also did a short-lived Vail comedy festival / competition.
Okay.
And that's where the first time I'd ever been in front of any kind of industry. So I get signed to a really small deal, like $14,000, which was $1 million.
Of course. Right. Yeah.
I was living out of my car for 3 years. So
Wow.
I got a deal with HIP, HBO's production company, and I got an agent and a manager. And then when I won San Francisco, I had the money to move because that was $10,000.
Right.
So I moved down and got an apartment, and then I went on auditions and stuff.
For TV shows?
Just because I thought that's what you have to do. No, for fucking, commercials, TV shows.
Seriously?
I think, what was it? It's not Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I think, Dude, Where's My Car?
You auditioned for that?
I think that's the one. There was one where I realized that I keep auditioning for things just because I had long hair. Like they put me in for surfer parts.
Right.
Like, I can't do that. I'm not an actor, but
Yeah.
I didn't think you could tell your agent no.
Okay. So you were taking anything that was put in front of you,
I was
basically, to try.
I was a yes man. I didn't
Right.
know what I was doing.
Did you land any? Any commercials?
I forget stuff. It's weird. When I first moved there, I was at the bar at the Improv, and Reverend Jim Ignatowski.
Oh, Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Christopher Lloyd
Yeah.
was at the bar, as drunk as he seemed like Reverend Jim.
Really, that bad?
Pretty hammered.
Okay.
But my cousin was an actor for a brief time, moved out to L.A. and did a pilot. This is back in the 80s when a pilot actually aired. And
Yeah, they would put it on.
decided if people liked it well enough. So he had been on the pilot episode co-starring with Reverend Jim.
Uh-huh.
And so I walked up to him sheepishly and said, I don't mean to bother you, sir, but you did a pilot with my cousin Grant Forsberg. I don't know what it was called. It's probably like 1984. He goes, I don't know. I've done so many shows. And I'm like, how can you do a TV show and forget about it?
Right.
And
right.
now I'm that guy.
Really? Now you'd be like,
So, yes,
I don't remember Vancouver. Yeah.
I'm
right.
sure I've landed. I acted in two things that I just remembered because Sherilyn Fenn is on Ray Donovan now.
Okay. All right.
I remember she was a wicked asshole at a rap party, but I thought it was my girlfriend's rap party. But I realized I IMDb'd her, and I realized, I was on a show with her. It was our rap party, and my girlfriend was there, and they got into a bit of a cat scrap.
Really?
Not physical, but
Yeah.
get the fuck out of my party. Evidently, they had dated the same man or something. But yeah.
But you had totally forgotten about it.
I had forgotten I did that.
Right.
Yeah. I was
Right.
homeless Jack. It's
Yeah.
on my IMDb page.
Nice. Now, when you lived in LA for 10 years and you left, why beyond the traffic and everything, was it you weren't getting jobs or wasn't helping?
No,
your
I was
career,
I'd get just enough to keep me there. And I'd always say, I don't want to live here. I don't want to be an actor. I can do the road from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we live here if we hate it so much? I was with Renee at the time, my last girl.
Right.
But every time we'd decide to move, you'd get some dumb pilot that'd pay you $30,000.
Okay.
You go, every year I get some dumb shit that just keeps me staying here.
Enough to keep you in your efficiency apartment with mushroom colored carpeting and going. Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
so, okay.
And then when I turned down the Man Show, and they called repeatedly, like, they really want you. Can you just audition? And so I finally auditioned and I got it. And I'm like, fuck, all right.
You didn't want to do it.
No, I didn't want to audition for it.
Okay.
Because the threat of getting it wasn't that good, and I suck at auditioning. But
okay.
Yeah, there were like 10 different comics that they'd pair us all up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember Dane Cook was one of them. Patrice O'Neill,
really?
George Gray, who lives here part time, has a house here. And then they'd pair you up, and just to see who had chemistry, and you'd go through fake, in front of a small paid audience.
Okay.
Do fake run-throughs of different things.
Like a focus group or something, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, almost. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And when you got the Man Show, you were on TV. And so when was the first time in your career when people or have they ever recognized you, like going out?
Rarely. And
really?
Even then, it wasn't much more than, like I always say, I'm famous within 100 feet of my show and nowhere else.
Right.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun because it was something I'd never done before. But at the same time, we knew it was going to suck.
Right.
Every day you spent in that office and every idea that got shit canned or okayed, you go, that's terrible. That's not a funny idea at all. The show is going to suck.
Right.
So we had a lot of fun doing it because me and Andy Andrus fucked off. We lived in our office. We had it set up like a MASH tent. I don't know if I've told everyone this on this podcast before.
Right.
But yeah, the end result is going to be a piece of shit.
Because you're in this machine.
I
basically.
remember when the head office, at one point, I don't know if I've told this story. At one point, all our gags were just calling either ourselves or the audience that watches us queers. We had so many queer things that they had to draw straws at Stone Stanley for which exec was going to come down and tell us no more gay jokes. All right? You can't keep calling the audience a bunch of homos.
So at some point you were just entertaining yourself, it sounds like.
Exactly.
We'd
make margaritas in the office. The lawyer, Dunce Hellberg, we called him. His last name is Hellberg. Would come in and say, "You guys can't be living here. Why? We're not living here just because there's bed and bedding, and we have a cot and a couch and a clothesline
and a blender.
You can't be making it. No, the blender's a prop. We're trying it out for a gag. These aren't real margaritas. Would be drunk at 4:00 in the afternoon at work.
Where do in the celebrity sphere, such as it is, where do you think stand-up comedians in particular, rank? I mean, are they, I'm a writer. I know writers are like a notch above botanist, but what about, are they all trying to get TV? I guess what I'm asking is it the material? Is it the work? Or is it do they go into it wanting to be famous? Most of them. In your experience, I mean, I know it's a generalization, but.
I think probably everyone wants to be famous. On some level, I couldn't tell you the percentage of comedians that are just using it as a springboard to TV or film,
right,
or something else. But most of them seem to be.
Right.
That was one thing Hedberg and I had in common is I want to do stand-up comedy. Why can't I do that?
Just do stand-up comedy,
I'm going to do such a disjustice to the joke. But Hedberg's joke about people say, "Oh, you're a comic. Can you write?" That's like saying, "Oh, you're a cook. Can you farm?"
Right.
Say, "Oh, yeah, they want you to do something else. You're not, unless you're, a Jeff Foxworthy or a Chris Rock. You're not considered successful if you're just doing the road.
So unless you're a brand, basically,
yeah.
I mean, or unless you're this thing like Eddie Murphy, I think probably set the standard for that. Richard Pryor did a little of it, but Eddie Murphy became a comedian, then he became a film star, then it became this and that and the other, and everything else exploded. Yeah.
Yeah, I always challenge people to name. Jeff Foxworthy, I think, is the only one I could name. A comedian that got famous for doing stand-up comedy in the 90s.
Okay.
When I started in 90. And there's not a single guy. I mean, there's people like Jim Carrey, but you didn't know his stand-up. You might have seen it after he got famous from doing movies, and then they'd run something he did, but he wasn't famous from doing it.
And the weird thing about that is those comedians you mentioned who became famous stopped doing stand-up.
Yeah.
They seem to, I mean, you can tell that it was a stepping stone. But Robin Williams kept doing stand-up.
Yeah, so
didn't he? Which is weird.
Will go out and fuck with it.
Right. Or do specials, or you know, whether they're good or bad, I mean, is beyond the point. But they still keep their hand in. I mean, he used to say that was what kept him limber.
Yeah, a lot of them don't keep their hand in it. They decide that, I haven't done anything in 10 years.
and it's too hard to sit there and write an act again, or I don't know, but I don't know what the
Can't
motivation
remember
is.
who it
but
was that did an HBO special. Where he brought out a newspaper. He's like one of the old school 70s guys that has been disappeared forever and brought out a newspaper. Like he's just doing topical stuff, but all this shit is like 5 years old.
Right.
Monica Lewinsky.
Look at that.
But a lot of people, I shouldn't even name names because I haven't actually seen their specials.
Yeah.
Robert Klein. All right.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Dropping that name gets me into fucking Hollywood trouble. But yeah, it's not like he kept his hand in comedy that I know of.
Right. No, he
Probably
became.
just,
he did a lot of Law and Orders. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
His agents pitched, HBO often enough. And they go, "Oh, it's green lit. All right, hire some writers and get an act."
When you were here in Bisbee, you met Jake LaMotta, and I'll never forget you had him sign a set of boxing gloves.
Oh yeah, I was nervous as a kitten when I heard he's coming over to watch football that first time we met him. So Russ Dunn was giving me wicked shit.
Just mocking you for being all entranced.
Well, I was waiting out front because I know the guy's 150 years old and it is a gravel driveway. So I don't know if he's going to need fucking help getting down it. So just the fact that I'm sitting out there watching for headlights.
Right.
Russ is like, oh, fucking.
But you said at the time, remember, that you don't mind being laudatory toward the person. You're not going to be all cool and like, oh yeah, but he's famous, but I'm going to stand over here and not notice, kind of thing. You know what I mean? You give the famous guy his due.
First of all, 90-year-old people kind of fall into that. They get a lot of respect.
Deference, yeah.
Yes, deference.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That's the word. Yeah, if anyone's fucking 90 and can still walk and they're going to come to your house,
right.
You make a special setting for them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I had those boxing gloves. I fought Tanya Harding.
Those are those.
Show,
oh, okay.
And she refused to sign them because she thought I'd just sell them on eBay.
Wow.
So fuck you. I got Jake LaMotta to sign them.
That's great.
Cunty.
Yeah, it's a step up. You told me the story, which is when you were living in LA, you were dating Christine Hodge, and you went to the Academy Awards.
Yeah, that was she was a child star on a show called Head of the Class, and I got set up with her, and we dated for like 3 years. But she was like such a great, I don't want to say con artist, but she could get in anywhere. So we went out to these Academy Award after parties, where she just flail her long red locks like she belonged there, and enough paparazzi knew her they'd take pictures, so she'd just walk in
like she belonged. Yeah. Just look like you belong, which is the first art of being on the grift. Yeah.
Right. That she could get anything. She was amazing. Ah, fuck the dogs. Shut it. So yeah, she got us into all these parties, and at that time I had a death row pen pal named Victor Farr, who is still alive as far as I know.
What was he on death row for?
Murder is pretty much the only thing he can be on death row for.
But who?
He had killed a couple. He had carjacked like 2 girls, or tried to carjack them, and then they pissed him off somehow. So he shot them both, but they lived. So he went to a different car that had a couple in it, carjacked them. The guy took off. The girls stayed in the car, and they got into a police chase, and he wrapped the car around a telephone pole and killed her. So it's felony murder.
Okay, all right. So not a nice guy.
Yeah, he was going through a bad time, I guess. But he had put an ad in the classifieds. This is how long ago this is. The LA Times classifieds under pen pals, I think it was the category.
Yeah, they had that, yeah.
And it said, death row inmate, white male, 6'2", 185 pounds, responds to all correspondence. So I wrote him a long letter saying I was more intrigued with the fact that you included your height and weight.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, what?
You're on death row. Did you think someone wouldn't write to you because you're a bit too chunky? So he wrote me back this letter saying that, thank you. That was the first time I've been able to laugh in here in years. You have no idea what it means to be able to laugh in a place like this. So then I kept writing him letters. I still have boxes in the crawl space of years of correspondence with Victor Farr. I visited him a few times on death row.
Seriously? Okay.
Which was weird because at the time my mother was still living in Florida and she had a graveyard shift job as a nurse in a nursing home. So I'd see him during the day, then drive to my mother's place in Crystal River and visit her at work. And a nursing home was 100 times more depressing than fucking death row. Because death row, everyone's just happy to be out of their cell and someone's going to actually visit them. Yeah. And it was like this. There was no like behind glass. You're in a room with probably, 24 tables.
So it's not a movie of the week thing. It's not like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You could get, for $5, you could get your picture taken with a Polaroid guard and take your picture.
Wow. Yeah.
And, it was fucking great. I mean, not great.
No, but
then you go to a fucking nursing home at midnight and you just hear these moans down ceramic hallways of people who, 15 years have been laying in bed with dementia, have no idea what they are, night terrors and,
My first wife used to, we'd go and volunteer for Christmas at nursing homes, and she's very giving. She works with burn patients. She's a nurse right now. I mean, that's pediatric burn unit. I mean, Domine Santere Pa. I mean, she's a saint. So, and I would go and be like, I think I'm good till next Christmas. I'm fine. That was really weird.
That's horrific.
Putting off. So you met this guy. And then you go to these after parties this year with your girlfriend.
I had a picture of him in my wallet. So
as
no
anyone
one talks
would,
to me. She can always find someone that she has 2 degrees of separation from some movie. Or do you remember me? So she's talking to everyone. I have nothing to say. So I'd just go up to random stars and say, I don't mean to bother you, but my retarded brother Kevin was supposed to be here, but he can't. He would love it if we could get a picture together. So I get me and Death Row Victor, and I got Nicole Kidman,
Seriously.
I got Winona Ryder, Dennis Rodman.
They were all happy to do it, right?
Pictures back to Death Row.
That's awesome. When we're talking about,
but that was weird because I was nobody at all. Like, even in comedy, I was barely known.
But you were a wallflower at this party, warming the bar.
I was on my way up. I just got discovered. And
right.
Yeah, I was a really shitty boyfriend because I had a lot of jealousy because even if she didn't know people, she knew people.
And was
O.J. Simpson, after he got let off, fucking called her up because they used to, like, her and her brother, O.J. I don't know how they knew him, but like he flew them to Super Bowls as a kid when she was on that show.
Okay, all right. Nothing weird there.
And then, he called her to ask her out after he got let off and
What'd
found
she
not
say?
guilty. She said, I just blew him off. I didn't know what to say, but what are you going to do? Hey, quit calling my girlfriend O.J. Simpson, you murderer.
There's famous and then there's infamous. I guess it's a fine line, man. When you were a kid, or before you discovered, did you ever meet anyone that you ever really wanted to meet? Like make an effort, or just have it happen? Someone you were like venerated or anything?
Hang on one second, Chad. Make yourself at home. Is
Bud Light's in the.
Bud Light in there. There's Miller Light in here. There's Red's Apple Ale. Wow, we're dropping a lot of fucking names that aren't sponsoring us.
I'll figure it out. Thanks.
Just cocktails.
Right. And there's Alka-Seltzer in the bathroom.
Yeah, I don't remember being a kid much, but I never wrote fan letters or anything like that.
Okay, all right. So you weren't all about celebrity worship and all that kind of stuff, or yeah.
I remember when I was probably 11 or 12, there was something in the newspaper. It was a cattle call for some big film. Mm-hmm. And I remember daydreaming about I want to be that guy.
Really?
I want to be that kid. I don't think I followed it up.
Right.
Like most of the things in my life I wanted to do.
You're more well known than you were even back then, certainly. Is that good or is that bad does it make any difference in your daily life of how things, we talk about Johnny Depp and he's got people. You don't have people, but
that's the annoying part about the whole Johnny Depp thing and thinking about that all the time. Where like I blew off Hollywood. That's why I came here.
Right.
And everything that's happened since I've been out here was a happy accident. I'm not chasing anything down.
Okay.
So,
okay.
you know,
right.
Louis C.K. says, hey, will you do this? Yeah, I'll give it a shot. But I'm not making calls.
But you don't wake up all motivated to make something happen and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's part of it is I don't want to have to be motivated, but I'm not going to fucking blow it off. You know,
okay.
You want to make a show? Shit, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Brian's flying out. We're going to fucking.
But it's not like you're sending query letters out to stars going, hey, I've got a great idea for a sitcom.
Not at all.
No. Yeah. All right. The
It's almost like you don't want to get tricked back into it. Like every time you go, oh shit, I haven't heard back from Johnny in a long time. Don't fucking trick me into wanting to be in Hollywood,
right?
Where I don't really want to be.
Bingo mentioned to me that the email from Johnny Depp, that a lot of times people reach out for and you never hear from them again. That's not an uncommon occurrence. Oh, really? Okay.
Fucking anytime I have a comic over, we get drunk and talk about doing something. Or
okay.
We should tour together. How many podcasts have I done where Bert Kreischer and I are going to tour together and Bill Burr and I are going to tour together? And it just doesn't usually, you don't get around to it. So you have to keep that in mind.
Right.
The whole time we were staying at Depp's house, you go out to dinner. I remember quoting Mitch Hedberg's joke at dinner, the one where he says, every time my agents take me out for dinner, I always reach for my wallet at the end. Because inside there's a note that says, remember to say thank you. Because I'm not even going to try to pull my fucking credit card out for the renting out the back room on a Saturday night forever.
Right.
Till 3 a.m.
Right.
When all the fucking help is slouched over chairs just waiting for you to leave. But yeah, I had to keep in mind, like when we hosted 2 baseball players here.
Yes, yeah.
At the other house. We
Last
put
season,
them up for the season. Mm-hmm. And they make $50 a week, which they can lose all of on a broken bat.
Right.
And so I don't want to overcompensate. Like fucking, let's do whatever. You can use the car. And before I get too deep into that, I had to remember when I started, I was doing comedy for nothing.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah,
that is the way it is.
I was paying to do it. I was losing money driving all the way to Montana to make $125 just to do it.
Right.
So I had to keep in mind that's part of the game.
That is part of the game. That kind of weeds people out who might be too weak or not committed enough to actually make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm not their stepfather. Just fucking put your wallet away.
But you also, because you're well known, get to do things like raising money for the atheists in Oklahoma, which sounds funny and all that stuff, but you actually help somebody only by the if you had
tenacious fan base that I have.
Yes,
which I hate using audience, not fans.
But being able to do that does have. It's not like you're Angelina Jolie saving kids in Saudi Arabia or whatever the hell she goes, but you're able to do things you want to do that are of interest to you that can then happen rather than being a daydream.
Myself, and we're going to talk about this on the next podcast, which is all about rage with Chad Shank. It'll be next week's podcast to you, but it'll be next hour's podcast for us. I have to keep that in check because sometimes a couple times it's been the opposite where like some guy wrote a blog that someone found where he was basically quoting all of my bits as though they were his.
I remember that, yeah.
Troy Holm, I still remember his name. And he had this whole blog, and he'd be tweeting and Facebooking, come to this blog and read my tales of sex and drugs and whatever. And then you go there, and it's either, if it's not my bits verbatim.
Right.
It's blog entries from my blog where he changes Rogan to my friend Jim, but exact word for word.
Wow.
So I just I wrote something on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's trying to steal my fucking core persona.
Right.
Fuck with him. That's all I wrote.
And your people stomped on him.
Oh my God. Yeah. To the point where I had to tell him this is way too
far.
Stop! Every Facebook picture had I was writing, I know what you did last summer as a comment. they found out the bars he frequented and texting shit on that bar's Facebook page about what a fraud piece of shit this guy is.
So it was a viral hit job, basically. Yeah.
And it was probably overkill.
Yeah.
It was definitely overkill.
Fun.
And then that journalist in the UK that I got into a beef with, they fucking went after her. And you go, I can only, like, this gun only has so many bullets. Like, I can only pull the trigger. So when I get cheesed off at the fucking cable company,
you can do that, but you don't want to do that. I mean, you can't trot it out
many times,
right?
And you don't want to have it too self-serving. So the atheist girl, that was really nice. Like, you're happy in the morning when.
And how did you? Were you literally like? Were you just watching TV and decided this is something you want to do, or just occurred to you like anyone else would do it?
Yeah, I was just drunk. It was one of those ideas I'd normally blow off, but Hennigan was here, and I go, you know how to start one of those, GoFundMe pages? Let's do this quick, because this won't be news for long.
And of course, it starts off with, I was just drunk.
All the good stories start out like that.
At shows, and I don't know if this has happened, so I don't know the answer to this, but have you ever had any people be weirdly stalkerish or weirdly just weird because of who you are, not your material kind of thing? Because
not dangerous stalkery, but a lot of people need more than the show, and that gets wearing. Like
what does that mean?
Like
Needs more than the show.
They get upset if you're not hanging out afterwards.
Okay.
Like them coming to the show is the foreplay. They think that you're gonna go out and do fucking crazy drugs together. Or, you're gonna be really good friends.
Right. You're gonna hang.
And even people that you knew 15, 20 years ago. Like, hey, I'm going to be there. Where you want to go out? Or sometimes it's just a fucking job. Like,
right.
Yeah. I used to be able to go out after the show all the time, but now you can't go out with 40 people to a bar.
Right. And have you ever
Or can you sit there and select the guy that might be fucking decent to talk to that's not throwing up in his baseball hat because he's fucking drinking in his car before the show for 6 hours?
Do you have...
And it's those are always the guys that want to manipulate your time. There's probably cool people at the show, but it's the guy that has you in a headlock trying to throw rumplemints down your head after the show that's going to fucking queer everyone else away.
And only you and him.
We fucking drove all the way from Altoona.
Right.
You're not even going to hang out? It's not fucking Dial a Date. It's a comedy show. It's over. I try to go out
with your life.
Shit.
Yeah. Have you had people... that you knew when you were younger, when you became more well-known, who you lost a relationship with because you were well-known? Either there was jealousy or just a weird change in the relationship because they thought something. I don't know how often that happens, but some people, not happy or not unhappy, but they regard you in a different light and da-da-da. Or
I don't know. There's people that like don't call me back, and I go, "Wow, how did I queer that? Like, what did I do wrong?"
Right.
Maybe they just moved on with their life. Mikey Greitz in Vegas, he never gets in touch anymore. I don't think I've seen him since 2002. But I don't know. People get families. My life has been the same night since I was, first sitting in a bar.
Right.
It's just I haven't had kids. I didn't.
Yeah. Right.
For 24 years, I've been going out, doing shows, going to a bar afterwards, drinking, falling down, waking up, going to the next show.
Right.
And other people they have grandkids.
And live in trailers.
Yeah. President of the insurance company and boats and stuff. Yeah, we could kill it for a second. TheShadyDell.com. That is where you stay. If you come to Bisbee and you're staying at the Shady Dell in Emmetown, I will have a beer with you. I won't hang out that long. We're not going to be good friends. I don't want you to fucking tell me you're going to kill yourself. But if you're staying at theshadydell.com, vintage trailer park with all 50s, 60s trailers that we live a mile away from, and we look for reasons to go stay there. Come to theshadydell.com. Sponsored by. I might even come in and clean your toilet. I don't know. All right. You know what? Fuck this. Do a station ID.
we like this message was brought to you by Doritos. What?
Know your name, lady.
Roseanne Barr and Doritos. Crunchy corn chips, bitch.
All right, we had to break for cocktails. That cocktail break was brought to you by... Fuck, I don't have a sponsor this week.
Rampant beer. Might be a little too high end for us.
Yeah, I'll come up with a sponsor by the end. Stay tuned. Everyone's riveted. But I wanted to backtrack on a couple of things. As far as fans go, because what you call celebrity, that's in the eye of the beholder.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, very much.
So if someone thinks you're that big of a shit, as much as self-deprecating or low, wherever you want to put yourself, that doesn't change. If someone, I get emails all the time that are like, who do you think I am? I'm just a fucking dude in a house.
Right.
But if you're that big to someone, it doesn't matter what the fucking tabloids think. And that's why the weirdness with the Johnny Depp, they put that in perspective to me, both positive, like you have to know not to let people in too close if they're going to get weirded out by it. And
right.
Like yesterday, I had two fans stop by the house, and I can always tell no one really goes down this street. And if people are walking towards my door and I see them through the fence, it's happened a handful of times now.
Okay.
And if I'm in the mood, it's daytime. I'll occasionally say, okay, one drink. I don't even ask who they are. I just open the door.
Right.
Say, all right, come in, just one drink. I got shit to do.
Right.
And almost every time they've been cool. And yesterday they were cool. But if you did that, you could do that to the wrong guy where he's like, I can come over all the time. And you let them believe that. It's your fault.
It's a mania they have that you're feeding. And not on purpose, but it just exists in their head. So you're just making it happen.
I don't want them sitting around thinking about Doug Stanhope hasn't fucking returned my email for a year.
You don't want to be their Johnny Depp. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, you want to be polite to people. Anytime, there's only been a couple of times anyone of celebrity's been a dick to me, and only slightly, but I still fucking hold on to that hatred so much.
Right, because
I won't watch the fucking TV show they're in, even if it's great and other people recommend it. No.
Well, they're so exalted, they have such a farther way to fall. So when they do it, it hits harder when they hit. I mean, they're just,
no. I'm saying I know how much just some annoyance to me. Like, listen, man, fucking leave me alone. I'm trying to take pictures. Like fucking one per person. When you're selling merch, there's always that guy. We've talked about this on the podcast.
Right.
That this is we're not on dial a date. It's a merch booth. I said hi. Yeah. Right. I've been polite. There's a whole long line behind you.
Right.
You're like the scratch ticket lady at the corner store that thinks it's a fucking Indian casino. You get your scratchers, you move on. You don't scratch them right there and
exactly.
Then turn them in.
Yeah.
So you have those. So yeah, you got to remember to be fucking polite, but you can't help but that's why Hedberg would always ditch out after his shows. We call it pulling a Hedberg. Where you just fucking run out the fucking fire exit in the back before the crowd can get out to the street. So you're ahead of them. You're ahead of the line.
Right.
Because you just can't deal with people tonight. And he would do that all the time because he felt some obligation to do more. And it fucking killed him because he was such a nice person.
Well, the other aspect of that is that stand-up comedy in particular, 90% of it is writing. It's you're seeing 10% on the stage of what took a lot of effort. And Hemingway once said, that writing is like performing without an audience. Because you're sitting there, you're doing it for yourself, basically. Right. I mean, you're trying stuff out in your life, but you're not like, hey, folks, so then when you bring that, they don't see that 90%.
You also get to make sure it's perfect before anyone sees it. Unlike comedy, where they're seeing the first time you do it is...
They're seeing the process.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
They're seeing all those crumpled up pieces of paper next to your typewriter.
Yes.
And reading them aloud.
Right.
Every night.
But they don't. But the people who you meet at the merch booth, they don't know all that other stuff that went. It's. They don't think of it as a working class thing, which it really is. I mean, you're working. You're actually doing a job.
And I make it look like not work at every level.
I know you do. Yeah, you totally do. But even that takes work. Even that takes a persona and other kinds of things. You don't really. I've read articles where they describe you as being, outrageous and all this stuff, but you're not a comic that is classifiable in the sense of someone else or some type, or you're just you. You sound like
it's
you.
Worked out. I don't question it. I just, at some point it was working, and I don't know that I'd ever listen to me.
But you also haven't crafted a persona.
I like shit like Tim and Eric that's stupid and silly.
Tim and Eric. Yeah, they're great. Or Flight of the Conchords or other, weird shit. Yeah. But you haven't crafted a persona that you put on. What you see on stage is basically you. That's what you really think. That's, you're not sitting there going, well, I've got to put more this kinds of jokes in it to be the person that people think I am, or I'm not living up to my aspect.
You feel it though. You especially the UK, where you feel like, oh, there's going to be more social commentary, and there's not. So fuck them. I'm going to have to drink more to plow through this.
You're very popular in England. Yes, or
more so than a lot of places.
Why?
I don't have any idea. I think I always boiled it down to, I think they just generally live a life that's as joyless as mine.
Okay.
And my act reflects their complete lack of joie de vivre.
Okay. All right. So they're
a miserable fucking people.
So they get you on a deeper level.
But you also attract, when you preach a sort of hate that I do, at least on the, face value hate, even if you're not seeing that there might be a point underneath it.
Right.
Sometimes there's not. There's just hate.
Right.
But when you preach that, you attract that audience.
Okay.
You attract all the people that are on the internet that want to fuck with someone just because they hate themselves.
Right.
So, yeah, if my audience turns on me, I used to say that the last tour of the UK, that you have to remind yourself, hey, listen, don't be negative. These people are here because they want you to do well. It's what your friends will tell you, or your manager will tell you. They want you to do well. Don't self-sabotage.
They're pulling for you.
And I said that's what it would be like in the States, but I don't think that's necessarily true in the UK. I think here in the UK, you would be just as happy to watch me die in flames and break down crying on stage, and then you'd feel even better. You'd enjoy the show more if I left here weeping.
Right.
And that would get a huge round of applause of recognition. Which scares you even more.
Before you hung out with Johnny Depp, you also hung out with Marilyn Manson?
Evidently, Manson is the one who turned Johnny. I feel like we're just going to call this whole podcast fucking name drop central.
Well, no, I don't mean it to be that, but there's a process involved. And it was a very different celebrity experience for you and for anyone, because he didn't have an entourage. He didn't have people.
Well, he had a darkened house and or apartment, depending on which time we went over there.
Yeah, and that was
Candles lit on the floor and no sunlight coming in anywhere.
Right. So that was...
But he and Johnny are friends.
Okay. All right.
Marilyn Manson. See, anytime you say, just saying Johnny Depp feels like you're name dropping.
You feel douchey about it, and I know that. But I guess what I'm at is,
there's a whole reverence you have to have, not talking about, we took pictures in the green room, and now if I wanted to put him up, I'd have to Photoshop out his kid, because it's that level of fucked up paparazzi. He was saying it was in some building where a fucking drone came up to the 13th floor of the building and started fucking filming him.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, you can't you go, I'll tweet this picture. No, it's got his kid in it. And you can't.
Right.
Haley Joel Osment, I did fucking pickle shots and whiskey juice. Whiskey juice. It was
juice.
Whiskey and pickle juice in multiple shots. He's buying us. Haley Joel Osment is a name I was fucking dropping the rest of the weekend on stage. Yeah, sorry if I look a little fucked up. I was drinking whiskey and pickle juice with Haley Joel Osment on his tab, motherfucker. Drop the mic.
Eat that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. And it was a really cool night. He's a really cool guy. And we hung out all night, and you don't feel bad dropping Haley Joel Osment. You don't sound like you're trying to show off.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool thing.
Right.
I even got him to do the I See Dead People on video, pointing at me for the death pool site.
Awesome.
Celebrity death pool site. Which he would fucking never do. It's like asking me to say, show me where babies feed. Or dynamite from J.J. Walker. But I had a reason, because it's for a celebrity death pool.
Right.
And he's like, fuck it. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it. That's a cool night. And you don't feel like you're rubbing it in someone. Just having to shut down the back room of the Comedy Store. Like that's a hallway goes, it's straight to the green room.
Right.
That's pretty much an open door policy for any known comedian. They can go back there. And that night they had some, hulking off-duty cop just poking people in the chest going, no.
Seriously.
Nope.
Wow. Yeah.
And I want to go out and apologize to everyone, but I was in the green room for 2 hours after the show hanging out, and there's only like 3 people left.
Right.
So, yeah, if you couldn't get in the green room, sorry, but now you understand, I think.
But it's also not name dropping if it's part of your work. It's part of your profession. It's what you do. So meeting people who happen to be famous.
After the first time, I was still unconvinced he actually did want to do a show. So
okay.
After this, yeah.
But even that, I mean, you did Louis C.K. show, and that went really well. But you knew him years ago before you were both well known, right?
Yeah. We weren't like calling each other on the phone, but comedy's a really small world. Exactly. Or it used to be. Mm-hmm. I've outgrown, I don't know, fucking half the people on, I look at who's playing Montreal and half the people, I don't have any idea who they are.
Right. But doing his show you weren't doing it because it was the well-known comic Louis C.K. You were doing it because he was an acquaintance of yours.
Oh, by the way, for the record, I forget to mention this. Alex, when I did that Louis C.K. show, and I told him I can't act, I suck at acting. And Alex, you act. So you're the only person in Bisbee I could call when I was going over lines. Like, all right. So, yeah, I worked out lines with you, and you gave me direction, and then I finally did it via Skype for Louis, and everything he told me to do, he told me to do the other way.
Exactly. No, and that was brilliant of me to set you up for that. But the funny thing is, everything you told me was my honest, that's the way I would have done it. Was
anyway.
I fucked that. And I'll never forget you had told me that you had gotten shortlisted for an Emmy for that. But the way you told me was you came up to me and you said, "We got shortlisted for an Emmy." And I was like, "Yes, we did." Look at me. So have you ever had any experiences where has there ever been anyone you wanted to work with?
I'm burning this joke, but never mind.
Well, anyone you wanted to work with, or anyone you want to work with?
No, there's people I wanted to see. I really want to see Gilbert Gottfried.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to see Carlin a little bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, guys, Gilbert, I'm sure there's some people I'm forgetting. Gilbert's definitely one. Mm-hmm. Bill Murray would be my number one person on my bucket list of people I want to get drunk with. Oh yeah, we'll save that for fucking the next one. All right, we'll save that. But yeah, Bill Murray is definitely a fucking guy.
Yeah,
you know what? We can do it now. We're starting a game. We'll continue this on the next podcast, but it was something we did to kill time in the van on the road. Was who would you rather get day drunk with?
Oh,
and it started with Hunter S. Thompson and Charles Bukowski.
Right.
Who would you rather get day drunk is a specific animal. It's a type of. It's way different than night drinking.
More of a grinding kind of.
Yeah, you're not going to necessarily go home afterwards.
It's more dirge-like,
Yeah. You wake the bar that opens at 10 in the morning.
Yeah,
exactly. And you walk in and say, fuck it.
Yeah, the day's gone.
I went with Bukowski on it just because he seemed like he'd be a more staid, plotting conversation, but you're not going fucking batshit into a, racing down a mountain. Right. At 10:30 at 170 miles an hour.
Well, I was, and this is one of my favorite
Oh,
celebrity
that's right.
stories.
You fucking met Hunter S.
Yeah,
Thompson.
I did. The first time
Tell
I
me
ever
that
did
story
cocaine
again.
was with Hunter S. Thompson, believe it or not. And I didn't realize that till recently. Someone was talking to me about cocaine. I was like, oh yeah, and I realized the first time was college, senior year in college. I was editing the student newspaper, school on Long Island, and we had money in the budget so I could hire him to come talk because I liked him as a writer. I really liked him as a writer. I wasn't really familiar with the whole persona, the whole drug thing, beyond a certain level. So anyway, we pick him up at the airport and we go to this great hotel. It's the wrong hotel. We go to another hotel that has exit signs written in Arabic, just totally different kind of place. And, we finally get to the gig at my college. The place seats about 1,000 people. By the time we get there, we're 4 hours late. There's maybe 100 people left in the place. Professors had brought their students. We were so late. But
were they making announcements the whole time? Like he's on his way?
There were no updates. Yeah, they were, but they didn't know where we were. So we get to the school, and I had lined up all kinds of drugs for Hunter Thompson. I'm like, oh, yeah. But then he goes, so do you have what I want? And he taps his nose. And I'm like, oh, shit, cocaine. Didn't occur to me, right? Because he was a major coke fiend. Didn't know that. So I scramble, and I ask this friend of mine, can you get me... He gives me a $100 bill. Hunter Thompson gives me a $100 bill to get some. So now I'm his drug dealer. So I go and I get coke for him, right? And we had put wild turkey in orange juice containers because we couldn't have alcohol on stage and all this weird shit, right? And we're late and I'm tired and so he takes this $100 worth of cocaine, splits it in 2 lines. He does one, I do the other. I was to my eyeballs. I just like, wow, man, fucked out of my gourd. First time ever doing cocaine, right? And
That's such a good story.
No, it's amazing. And I didn't plan any of this. I didn't know what was going on, And we were about to go on stage, and I think there's like a bunch of people waiting for us, which there isn't. And I started telling him the reason that I really liked him was this. He wrote this article that had a great beginning and a great ending. He wrote it as a freelancer years ago. And I told him, I really love that article, and that's really why. And he hugged me and he said, oh, you're not just here for the other shit. I was like, no, I wasn't. So we go up on stage, and then I introduce him, in my quavering, coke-addled, wild turkey-soaked brain, and I go to sit down, and he's like, no, you have to get up here. You got to help me with these savages. I can't deal with these people. I'm like, okay. So I get back up, and the people who stayed, the 100 people who stayed, were so cool. We were up there for 3 hours. All he did was Q&A, but the people who stayed were such diehards, and they knew their shit.
What year was this?
This was 87.
All right.
But we're talking about Rehnquist, and we're talking about, football and Nixon and all this really cool shit. It was just unbelievable night. And by the end of it, I'm like, of course, I feel like I've lost 50 pounds because I'm coming down off of, whatever many grams of coke that I've done, And, we drive him to the airport. We drive him to New York City, to drop him off at this place. We get out of the car. He gives me another hug and he said, you did good. You did good. And I was like, oh, thank God. But then we get back to the newspaper office. I'm supposed to write an article about it, and we have a power outage. So I never wrote about it, never got an autograph, never even got a picture, nothing to market. It would be a story lost to the ether, right? Friends of mine got the $100 bill sign and made photocopies of it. I still know people with them.
That's great.
Which was awesome. And I never thought of that. I didn't think, get the guy's signature, But about 5 years ago, this guy I barely knew in college had taken pictures during the show. And he sent me a picture of me and Hunter Thompson on stage together.
Great.
Oh, no, it's amazing. I have a framed picture in my bathroom. Underneath my picture of Nixon and Elvis, I have a picture of me and Hunter Thompson. And I have, every time I've done cocaine since then, has been off that picture. So it was a wonderful experience.
Started the podcast of this. Yeah,
but it was cool because he was cool, and he thought I was cool, which was more than anything.
How many times do you wish someone would die so you could tell this story? I did coke in a green room. Norton was there. He's sober. He wasn't doing it, but with a couple of professional football players at Governors on Long Island. Well-known ones too, and in
John
their
Riggins,
1 in
anybody?
15 season. Oh, yeah, that's why. That's why. Hanging out at Governor's doing fucking coke with the guy with the mullet. He says, they came to the early show Friday and the late show. I was doing the late show, so they came backstage and said, "Oh, we're gonna hang around for the late show if that's cool." And I said, "Yeah." And then one guy says, "You party?" And I didn't know the nomenclature.
Didn't pick up on that vibe.
I go, "Yeah, I party." And so he hands me a bindle, and I'm like, "Oh, party!" And the girl I was with did not approve. But I said, "Fuck you! I'm doing this." How often are you gonna
step it up a notch?
But yeah, it wasn't a fucking Hunter-esque name drop by any means.
No, it was fun, and the fact that it was the first time was what a way to go. It was a lot of fun. So and my father was sort of a quasi celebrity, and my father grew up as a child with Lee Marvin, the actor, and when my father died,
you'd think you'd be tougher.
I get that a lot. So, but they grew up as kids in Woodstock, New York, as a matter of fact. And so I go on my father's phone book to call people after my father died. We didn't have internet back then. We just couldn't post something on Facebook. So I'm making all these calls, and it's sad. I'm talking to people, and I get to M, and it just says Lee. And I'm like, I would never call Lee Marvin Lee. He's Lee Marvin. He's like, you can call Fred Astaire Fred. So I call him like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Wolf died." He's like, "Okay, thanks." And we have a little conversation, and I get off the phone, and it only occurred to me later, I was like, wow, I just had a conversation with fucking Lee Marvin, which is heroic and wonderful.
I wish I had more dads.
Yeah. No, I call back. No, he's just really sick. Come visit. You can help him.
Hey, Lee, I was just on my Ouija board, and guess who says hi? Wolf. Remember? Hello?
Is this thing on? Well, I was remembering because I had interviewed Robin Williams, and that got me thinking about I had been a furniture mover in New York from the time through high school and college. And when John Belushi died, the week after he died, we moved his place in New York. He had an office with his wife. And we go to do this job, and John Belushi's dead, obviously. But Dan Aykroyd was there, and Judy Belushi was there, and it was the most depressing place I've ever been to, almost ever. And everyone was just really sad. And you want to be like, "Oh, look, it's Dan Aykroyd. Oh, look, it's not a good time to ask for an autograph." I was like, "Oh, shit."
Fucking, I keep doing other comics jokes, but they're old, so I hope they're not still using them. But Nick Swardson had this fucking brilliant bit about, I only heard it secondhand at the time, so I'm ruining it too, but he had just gotten his teeth whitened at 9/11. And he wanted to show them off so bad, but there's no reason to smile. So he goes, "Yeah, it's really sad what happened in New York." And then make this awkward smile to show off his. I'm fucking it up, but yeah, same kind of situation. You want to go, "Hey,
I
Dan Aykroyd. Sorry about your thing, but you're Dan Aykroyd."
Yeah, but hey, I went to remind you of a story. I went to Paris in February after 9/11 because fares were really cheap. The only time
That's why we went to Costa Rica the first time.
It's like,
Becker called, "Oh, we're going to get it for a song."
They're almost paying you. It's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay, terrorists win. So we fly to Paris, right? We have a great time. And I told a friend of mine, Ed Dumas from college, that I had gone to Paris.
Oh, fucking name drop. Here we go. I started it. You got to throw in the Ed Dumas.
God damn, man. He's big. So then about 2 weeks after I get back, I get this postcard in an envelope. And it's a postcard of the World Trade Center, but it's in an envelope. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I turn it over, and it's Ed Dumas writing, "Wow, I just your trip to Paris inspired my wife and I. We're going to be tourists in New York where we live. We're going to go to the Empire State Building. We're going to go and then we're going to go to Windows on the World. And it's going to be great." And we're going to Windows on the World tomorrow. And it was dated September 10th, 2001.
I hope that's framed right underneath the Hunter S. Thompson picture.
It was brilliant. I was like, that's why it was in the envelope. Got it. Okay.
All right. You got anything else on that list, or should we wrap it up?
I think we're good,
man. Hour 10 minus everything we have to cut out.
Yeah.
If this actually worked. Flying without a net, podcasting without the podcast master, Greg Chaille, who's off in Seattle doing something. On the road coming up, Philadelphia. This is September. So look on my website. I don't know the dates, but next is Philly, then D.C. at the whatever Falls Church, Virginia, the State Theater, Trocadero in Philly, Improv in San Jose after that, Austin, a place I don't remember the name of, Red Rum or something. I think that's actually it. Maybe. I don't know. It's on my site. It's Austin. Spread the word. And then September 27th in Vegas at the Plaza, we will be doing the show Saturday night. And all you people that I fucking shy away and can't people please enough can fucking haunt me at the sports book all day, watching football on the Sunday after the show. The bus station, the Greyhound station, is right beside the Plaza Hotel, old school downtown Vegas, where all the fucking the miserable transient population come into town. So we still haven't figured out the prize, but whoever takes the Greyhound the longest to be at the Plaza will win some kind of hug after you've been deloused. I don't know. But yeah, that'll be a fun time where I don't have to worry about fucking pleasing everyone in a merch booth line. I can parse it out a little at a time throughout the day while I'm losing my ass in the sports book and bar at the Plaza. This has been the Doug Stanhope Podcast with me as your guest and Alex O'Meara as your host. Next week, or as soon as we refresh a cocktail, we'll be talking Rage and Hate with Chad Shank. Thanks for listening. Go to DougStanhope.com and buy something. I don't even know what I sell anymore. Thanks.
Play the Mattoid.
Party time. Party time. Party time. Party time. Drink your drinks and eat your eats. It's party time. Laugh your laughs and eat your eats. It's party time. Smile your smiles and blue your blues. It's party time. Dance a dance and shoe your shoes. It's party time. Howl your howls and suck your socks. It's party time. Yeah. Oh baby, grab your craps and fuck your fucks. It's party time. Grab your craps and fuck your fucks. It's party time. Everybody, grab your craps and fuck your fucks. It's party time. One more. Grab your craps and fuck your fucks. It's party time. Here we go. Party time. Yeah. Party time. Party time. Yeah. Party time. 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 Hey.